Good day, class. Welcome to Playing Tricks in Mathematics. Today we want to look at equivalent fractions and arrangement of fractions. So let's start with equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions are fractions with the same value or magnitude. So let's look at these fractions. Let's say you have 1 over 2, 2 over 4, 3 over 6, and 4 over 8. All these fractions are equivalent fractions because they have the same value or magnitude. If you divide 2 over 4 by 2, 2 here 1, 2 here 2, you're still going to have 1 over 2. If you divide this one by 3, 3 here 1, 3 here 2, you're still going to have 1 over 2. Divide this one by 4, 4 here 1, 4 here 2, you're still going to have 1 over 2. So that is why all of them are equivalent fractions. So let's look at how do we find or get equivalent fractions in mathematics. So let's look at methods of finding equivalent fractions. Like we explained in one of our previous videos, we said fractions are numbers that have numerators and denominators. For example, 1 over 2, this is the numerator and this is the denominator. Take note of this. Now, the number written above is the numerator, the number written below is the denominator. So for you to have equivalent fraction, whatever you use to multiply the numerator, you must use it to multiply the denominator. That is when you can have an equivalent fraction or equivalent fractions. Now, what are the methods of finding equivalent fractions in mathematics? 1. Equivalent fractions. So what we normally do under this method is to multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number. After multiplication, we are going to have larger equivalent fractions. Now, examples. Find the first 3 equivalent fractions of A 1 over 3, B 3 over 4. So under multiplication method, whatever you use to multiply the numerator, you use it to multiply the denominator. So the question is asking us to find the first 3 equivalent fractions of A 1 over 3. Let's take A. So we are starting with fraction with numerator of 1. That is the beginning. So for this, we are going to multiply by 2, 3, and 4. So all 2, 3, 4 will give us the first 3 equivalent fractions of 1 over 3. Let's go. So 1 over 3, numerator times 2, denominator times 2. So this is 2 over 6. That's the first one. The second one, 1 over 3 times 3 over 3. So we have 3 over 9. The third equivalent fraction will be 1 over 3 times 4 over 4. This will be 4 over 12. Therefore, 2 over 6, 3 over 9, and 4 over 12 are the first 3 equivalent fractions of 1 over 3. So this is what we call larger equivalent fractions. So during multiplication, we are going to have larger equivalent fractions. Now let's look at question B. Question B says, find the first 3 equivalent fractions of 3 over 4. The same way, to get the first one, we multiply by 2, by 3, and by 4. So let's go. First equivalent fraction, that is 3 over 4 times 2 over 2. This is 3 times 2, 6. 4 times 2, 8. The second equivalent fraction will be 3 over 4 times 3 over 3. 3 times 3, 9. 4 times 3, 12. And the third equivalent fraction will be 3 over 4 times 4 over 4. 4 times 3, 12. 4 times 4, 16. So 6 9/8, 9/12, and 12/16 are the first three equivalent fractions of 3/4. If you are looking for larger equivalent fractions, you are going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number. So, and that's what we have just done here. So let's look at second example under equivalent fraction by multiplication. Question 2. Find equivalent fraction of 4/5 with denominator 25. So this is another question under equivalent fractions by multiplication. Now the question is asking us to find equivalent fraction of 4/5 with denominator of 25. You know the number written on top is numerator and number written below is denominator in fractions. So we want to make this fraction to have a denominator of 25. For it to have 25, that means we have to multiply the denominator by 5. And you know in the equivalent fractions, whatever you do to the denominator, you have to do it to the numerator. Then you have to multiply the numerator by 5 as well. So this will be 20, and 5 times 5 is 25. So with this, we have been able to answer the question that the equivalent fraction of 4/5 with denominator of 25 is 20/25. So that is that on the method of finding equivalent fractions using multiplication. So let's go to the next method, because there are two major methods of finding equivalent fractions in mathematics, by multiplication and by division. So 2. Equivalent fractions by division. Equivalent fractions by division. Like I explained in the finding equivalent fractions by multiplication, what you do to the numerator, you do it to the denominator. But in this case, instead of multiplying, we are going to divide. So whatever we use to divide the numerator, we also use it to divide the denominator. So let's look at examples to understand what we mean under this method. Examples. 1. Let's say you have a question that asks you to find the other equivalent fractions of 6/12. Now, in equivalent fraction by multiplication, I said we're going to get larger equivalent fractions because the value will keep on increasing and increasing. But in equivalent fractions by division, we are going to be getting smaller and smaller equivalent fractions because we are going to divide the numerator with a number and we use that same number to divide the denominator. So we want to look at all the equivalent fractions in 6/12. So let's go. So just like in multiplication, you multiply by 2, by 3, by 4. But in division, you divide by 2, by 3, by 4, and like that until you get to a fraction with a numerator of 1. So when you get to a fraction of numerator of 1, then you stop. So let's start with this. So 6/12, 1. 6/12 divided by 2, 2. Alright, so we are going to divide the numerator by 2, the denominator by 2. So if you 6 divided by 2, we have 3. 12 divided by 2, we have 6. So next, let's go again. That's 6/12 divided by 3/3. So 6 divided by 3, 2. 12 divided by 3, 4. Let's go again. We still have more to do. We have not gotten to 1. So 4 cannot divide 6, then we skip it. So we go to 6. So this will be 6/12 divided by 6/6. So 6 divided by 6, 1. 12 divided by 6, 2. So other equivalent fractions in 6/12 are 1/2, 2/4, and 3/6. So all these are the equivalent fractions you can find in 6/12, and all of them from 1/2 to 2/4 to 3/6 to even 6/12 itself, all are equivalent fractions. Now, let's look at one example more under this for us to understand this method. And you have to keep it in mind that under this method, you are going to have smaller equivalent fractions. And that is why all other fractions we have, apart from 6/12, all of them are smaller than 6/12, although they have the same value. Example 2. Let's say you have a question that says, find equivalent fraction of 60/144 with numerator of 5. So, what the question is asking us to do is to look for equivalent fraction of 60/144 that will have a numerator of 5. So let's go. 60/144. We want to have a numerator of 5. So to have a numerator of 5, we have to divide this 60 by what? By 12. So 60 divided by 12 over 144 divided by 12. So 60 divided by 12 will give us 5. And 144 divided by 12 will give us 12. So other equivalent fraction of 144 of 60/144 with numerator of 5 is 5/12. How with these examples, you now understand how to find smaller equivalent fractions. And with the one we have done under the first method, I believe now you should be able to understand how to find larger equivalent fractions as well. So now let's move to arrangement of fractions. How do we arrange fractions in mathematics? That is very, very important. You should know how to arrange fractions in mathematics. Arrangement of fractions in mathematics. Now, there are two ways of arranging fractions in mathematics. One, we have what we call ascending order. Ascending order means arranging fractions from the smallest fraction to the largest fraction. It can also be applied to all other numbers in mathematics. So ascending order is basically arranging numbers from the smallest number to the largest number. So you start with the smallest and you end up with the largest. The second way of arranging fractions or numbers in mathematics is descending order. Descending order is basically the opposite of ascending order. It means arranging fractions or numbers from the largest to the smallest. From the largest to the smallest, that is descending order. While ascending order is from the smallest to the what? To the largest. Now let's look at conditions for arrangement of fractions in mathematics. Conditions for arrangement of fractions in mathematics. Now, the first condition is 1. Fractions with same denominators. Fractions with same denominators. So, the way we arrange fractions with the same denominators is different from the way we arrange fractions with different denominators. We'll still talk about that later. So let's look at the example to understand what we are saying. Example. Let's say you have the question that says, arrange these fractions in ascending and descending orders. Under fractions with the same denominators, we can't use the denominators to arrange the fractions anymore because they have equal denominators. So we use the numerators to arrange this value. So let's look at these fractions. 1/7, 5/7, 3/7, and 2/7 by the 1. So let's look at ascending order. Ascending order. Since we said we can't use the denominators again, that we can only use it. So ascending order, the one with the smallest numerator, we have the smallest value. So 1/7 is the smallest, and 5/7 is the largest. So don't forget that ascending order means from the smallest to the largest. So let's look at descending order now. Descending order. So in descending order, we are arranging from the largest to the smallest. So since we have this, so 5/7 is the largest, 3/7 will follow it, 2/7 will follow it, and 1/7 is the smallest. So remember, descending order means from the largest to the smallest. So this is how we arrange fractions with the same denominators. Second way of arranging fractions in mathematics. Fractions with different denominators. So fractions with different denominators, how do we arrange them? Because they have different denominators, we have to use another method of arranging them. When we want to arrange them, we have to look at LCM. A fraction that has the largest value over the LCM will be the fraction with the largest value, and fraction with the smallest value over LCM will be the fraction with the smallest value. Let's look at the example so that we can understand what we are saying under fractions with different denominators. Let's say you have a question that says arrange these fractions in ascending and descending orders. Alright, let's say you have 1/2, 7/8, 2/5, and 1/4. So when you have these fractions with different denominators, what we first of all consider is their LCM. LCM of 2, 8, 5, and 4 is 40. So you draw a line as usual. Place your 40 here. 2 in 40, 20. 20 times 1, 20. You put comma. 8 in 45, 7 times 5, 35. You put comma. 5 in 48, 8 times 2, 16. You put comma. 4 in 40, 10. 10 times 1, 10. You put comma. So this is the way you have it now. Now let's look at ascending order now. Now, you now look at which fraction, ascending order is from the smallest to the largest, right? Which fraction has the smallest number here? 10. So you now look at 10. Which fraction has that 10? That is 1/4. Then, which one is the next one? 16. Which fraction has 16? That is 2/5. You look at the next one, 20. Which fraction has 20? 1/2. And the largest is 35. Which fraction has 35? That is 7/8. So this is ascending order. That is from the smallest to the largest, right? Let's look at the descending order now. Descending order means from the largest to the smallest. So descending order. So we are moving from the largest to the smallest. So 35 is the largest. Which fraction has 35? 7/8. So that will be followed by 20. Which fraction has 20? That is 1/2. Then followed by 16. Which fraction has 16? That is 2/5. We also be followed by the smallest. Which fraction has the smallest? That is 1/4. So the smallest is 10. The fraction that has that 10 is 1/4. So this is descending order. So far so good. This is how to arrange fractions in mathematics based on different conditions, whether fractions with same denominators or fractions with different denominators. Irrespective of anyone that it could be, you should be able to arrange those fractions in order. Now with this video, you should be able to understand equivalent fractions, how we arrive at larger equivalent fractions, and how we can obtain smaller equivalent fractions. Thank you for watching and listening. Do help to like this video and other videos on our channel. We love to have your comments or feedback. Help us to share this video and other videos on our channel and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.